Please stand for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we beseech your divine guidance in this meeting. Keep us ever mindful of our obligation. Grant us, dear Lord, wisdom, tolerance, and courage that we may well serve our county and fulfill our trust. Amen.
Amen. Make a motion to approve the minutes of March 24th.
Second.
Discussion? Roll?
Handley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes. Do we have any public comment regarding any pending resolutions? Seeing none, we will move on to resolutions. County Engineer, we have Dan Becker here.
Morning.
Good morning.
I've got 3 resolutions for your consideration. The first is determining the necessity to...
Okay.
All right, I'll go with 4.
Yeah, we have 4. We have 4. Yeah.
No, I only have 3.
No?
Nope, you've got
You have
4.
the plat?
I'm going to read 3, and then you're going to tell me the 4th one.
Okay.
'cause
Okay.
Unfortunately, they didn't give it to me. Determining the necessity to close county roads for various or multiple road culvert replacements.
Yep.
The second is finding the public welfare and convenience requires the reapplication for pavement markings on various county roads and township roads. And the third is authorizing participation for the ODOT winter contract for salt for next year. We're not doing any more this year.
Okay, your 4th one is approving the right-of-way dedication plat for the Main Drive Phase 2 located in the original Lafayette Township, Lot 16, Track 2.
I apologize for that. Yes, please.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve all 4 resolutions, seeing as I signed that one of the plat already.
I know.
Probably ought to include that. Yeah.
Second.
Discussion?
Roll. Handley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Again, sorry about that.
It's okay. Next up, we have Jeremy Cinco from Sanitary Engineer.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'd like to verify I have 5 resolutions today.
That's correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. First resolution is amending an existing construction manager at risk agreement with Great Lakes Construction to construct the new Chippewa wastewater treatment plant project. The second is declaring the necessity to replace the existing water mains along Chippewa and Lake Road and authorize the sanitary engineer to advertise for construction bids. The third is authorizing the sanitary engineer department to purchase an office vehicle. The fourth is authorizing the sanitary engineer to apply for, accept, and enter into a water pollution control loan fund agreement on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners of Medina County, Ohio, for construction of the Chippewa Lake wastewater facilities and designating a dedicated repayment source for the loan. And the fifth is authorizing the sanitary engineer department to purchase a 4x4 pickup truck.
Move to approve the 5 resolutions.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment about the Great Lakes Construction, the Chippewa wastewater treatment plant. I know we've received some calls regarding our recent increases in our water and sewer bills and so forth, and I want to just say I'm glad we're moving forward with this. This has implications, obviously, for the future costs and I'll just say our fees in the future, and thank Jeremy for putting together the website and the information, and I'd encourage people that have any questions about their fees and increases, please go to the county website, the sanitary engineers, and it has not only a good summary, but also you can see the plan itself that shows the capital improvements and what we're planning for over the next number of years that have to be done because we have a lot of miles, we have a lot of infrastructure. A lot of it's old, very old, needs replaced and upgrade, and that's our plan. And I think we're acting responsibly, but we're also communicating to the public as to why they're seeing some increases on their bills.
Roll. Handley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes.
But thank you.
Jeremy.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Next up, we have Nicole Lee from Human Resources.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have one resolution for you today approving personnel changes. We have 1 rate increase in the county home and 1 leave of absence in transit.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Roll?
Handley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Thank you.
Nicole.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Brett Thomas, our Finance Director.
I have 6 resolutions for you guys this morning. Our first one is revenue adjustments for various funds. We had some planning funds that went into the wrong wrong account, just needed moved over to the fees. Our second resolution is cash transfers for various funds. This is for our probate court for mediation services, and then rolling over our transit's operating fund for 2026. The next resolution is cash transfers for Title 4D reimbursement. This is catching us up through the end of 2025. This is always a quarter behind. Our fourth resolution is our cash transfer to the Soil and Water Conservation District. This is our annual subsidy to the Soil and Water. Since they are also a county agency, we're able to do that in-house through our cash transfers. Our fifth resolution is expenses of county officials. We do have one out of state for this week with the sheriff. They have tactical training event for the SWAT team in Butlerville, Indiana. And then finally, we have our weekly bills in the amount of $1,095,636.50.
Move to approve these 6 resolutions.
Second.
Discussion? Roll?
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes. Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Matt Springer, County Administrator.
Good morning. I have 4 resolutions. The first one is authorizing an agreement with ECS for design services. This is for the replacement of windows at the Human Service Center. This is a 2026 capital improvement project. Second resolution is authorizing an agreement with Garland for the roof replacement at the Juvenile Detention Center, also a capital improvement project for this year. This would be purchased through a cooperative purchasing agreement in the amount of $699,937. Third resolution is accepting bids and awarding the project for the Engineering Center Lobby and Restroom Renovation Project. The lowest and most competitive bid was received from Crown Commercial Construction in the amount of $582,917. That'll bring those restrooms into ADA compliance in the future. And then the fourth and final is approving an F-Class liquor permit at the fairgrounds. This is associated with Main Street Medina and their 2026 Beer Fest, which will be held on May 9th of 2026.
Move to approve the 4 resolutions.
Second.
Discussion?
I'm trying to think, since I'm on the board of the Main Street Medina, should I end up recusing myself?
It's probably not a bad idea.
I hadn't thought about,
Yeah.
since I did, yeah.
Do you want to amend your?
If I could, I'd like to withdraw my motion.
Okay, so let's do the
The mo-
first
Do you
on
want
the
to
three.
fourth
the
one.
first 3?
Yeah, if you want, I'll make a motion on the first 3.
And I will second.
Discussion? Roll?
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I will move the 4th action for the approving and filing of an F-Class temporary permit application to allow for the sale of beer during the 2026 Medina Beer Fest.
And I will second. Discussion? Roll?
Hambley?
Abstain.
Harrison?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Thank
you so much, Matt. Okay, next up, we have department reports. Today, we only have one department report. We have Shannon Ryan from Transit.
Hi, good morning. I have one resolution approving the agreement between City of Medina for provisions for current years 26 and 27 for their public transit services.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Roll?
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes. Okay, Shannon, you're up.
And just a quick monthly report. Our flex routes continue to perform pretty much on average, a little bit above what we saw in 25. I'm happy to see those routes. Our demand ridership went down a little bit, and I think that has a little bit to do with some of the changes and some of the service with our contract providers, but I expect those to come back up based on what I'm seeing this month. Looking at, our cost per mile, that is continuing to go up a little bit. That has a lot to do with passengers per hour, which we're working through. And some of the longer trips we have, it's difficult to get more than 1 or 2 people on the bus at the same time. And these routes are getting longer. Folks are traveling a lot more for work. Happy to do that. Some of these trips are Homerville and Seville and way out. So we're reaching all parts of the county. We're hoping. We did have a 0 trip denial this last month, which is something we strive for. As I mentioned, our contracted services, the ridership, senior adult services was down a little bit. Maybe the weather's nicer and those folks will want to get back out and ride a little bit more. We did get our 4 new buses in. They're going through the process of switching radios and the electronic fare media process on it. There's a lot that decaling, there's a lot that has to happen, but we're happy to see those. It only took us about 6 months as opposed to 2 years of last time. So we're happy to see that. Our staffing continues to be strong. We continue to hire some great people. We're doing well in that department as well. So all good news so far. I did attend a conference for ODOT this last month and heard, obviously the budget for the state is competitive when it comes to the state. I was talking a little bit about that earlier. Our competitive grants for capital, which we're not having to get into this year. We have our preventative maintenance money in place with federal dollars still. So we're confident that we're going to be, our operating did come through for state fiscal 27, and we have to go through the certification process for that. But all in all.
Could you shed a little bit of light? We did talk about this a little bit beforehand, but this is, I just kind of want to maybe broaden the topic. About NOACA funding and some of the federal funds that are available, grant funds. This was news to me, realizing that we're a rural operation within our transit, but I didn't realize that extends to our own nonprofits that operate in our footprint. So, for instance, I had suggested that maybe society apply for some funding, grant funding that was available through NOACA, and they were informed because we operate a rural system, they're completely ineligible for that.
That would be the twist, I'd call it, the unknown, for instance, and it's mainly for that rural designation, and it just brings a lot of things along with it. So there's good and bad in everything. I think the good is we're doing well with our operating funding, but there is those ancillary things that happen.
But that means that they then have to go and compete at the state level.
That's correct.
For that pot of money.
Potentially could give them a better chance to have,
or less of a chance.
Well,
I guess it's competitive.
right.
So yeah, and unfortunately that is the problem of going back and forth from urban, rural, urban.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as Shannon and I were talking, Shannon's got a lot of insights on this, and he was mentioning, we're in a good part of the cycle because capital funding has happened as we've needed. But you worry as we get to the backside of the cycle, could we find ourselves on the wrong side?
I can say for a fact, decades ago, when we were rural, we were Society for Handicapped Citizens did receive some of that money because NOACA basically wrote it in such a way that they were able to use urban dollars because they also cover Brunswick, which is part of the urbanized area, and therefore they were qualified. So I would suggest maybe NOACA is playing games right now.
Well,
but I'll just say that as an editorial.
That was part of the reason I wanted to raise the issue because I want to make sure that wherever those funds may be available, an organization like Society, which goes beyond the boundaries of Medina County anyway, I would hate for their hands to be tied because they're situated here for funding that they might otherwise perform well on. So it's something I'm going to ask a few more questions about, but I just wanted to make everybody aware. And,
Sure.
and again, Shannon, I appreciate your insights in it because, like you say, we're kind of at the mercy of that determination. So
Yeah, I think it'll change as I'm seeing the county grow.
Yeah.
Happy to say that, but who knows? The census has everything to say about it.
right.
But that won't be until 2031, 32.
There you go. I was just mentioning that date it's not that far away though. Thank you.
Thanks, Shannon.
Okay, next up we have public comment. No public comment. Okay, I do have a municipal annexation petition to read into the record. On March 24th, 2026, the clerk of the Board of the Medina County Commissioners received a municipal annexation petition for 4 parcels of land totaling 7.3255 acres, more or less, of land from Brunswick Hills to the city of Brunswick. No public hearing is required. The commissioners will review the petition during their regular meeting at a date to be determined upon receipt of the plat from the city of Brunswick. So at this point, we do not have to do any more on that.
This is the parcels that are basically on the corner, northeast corner of Grafton Road and North Carpenter Road that I think publicly has already been, they purchased these for athletic fields. I think they were talking about baseball fields and so forth. So that's where that is coming from.
Okay, next up, we have discussion session. Jeremy, do you have anything?
Last week, the health department came in and provided their connection policy to sanitary sewers. So this past week, I had a opportunity to kind of just sit down and digest that a little bit. So essentially, it looks like they have two different scenarios here. The first would be for property owners that have septic systems that have access to existing sewers currently. So basically, for those property owners, they'll be allowed to remain on their septic system until such time that the property transfers, the system becomes non-functional or creates a public health nuisance or defined as an illicit discharge with the Ohio EPA. Those property owners will be notified of this requirement when the health department becomes aware of the transfer nuisance or failure. We just did some rough estimation here. We basically looked at any dwelling. We used the auditor's information to find a dwelling and a bathroom. If there was, we put like a 150-foot buffer on our sewer system in our GIS. So if that dwelling fell within that buffer, it flagged that lot. So we found about 750 properties that currently fit this description.
So should those properties, to clarify, should those properties be sold, the new owners are required to go into the city system?
Going to our, correct, yeah, they would,
Yes, required.
and whether it's the existing or the new, I guess that's for the health department to
So
kind
it'd be
of.
interesting to know if, maybe the Medina County Board of Realtors has a current list of these properties, so they're aware of that when they're potentially selling
Yeah.
these properties.
We have that, like I said, we have that estimated list of all the parcel numbers that we could provide them if need be.
Okay.
So those are those, so that kind of handles those properties. The other one is if new sewers. So I guess the existing, or the example would be if you have a sanitary sewer that extended or that is currently ended, and there's a development, let's just say half a mile down the road, and they need to extend the sewers between there to their development, any property owner that would be, has a septic system between those, where the new sewer is getting installed, the health department would make them connect to the sewer system within 180 days.
Yeah, they would not be grandfathered.
They would
like
not-
the other ones.
Correct.
So they actually, so that is a consequence of the expansion of sewers.
Yep. So,
They'll be required to.
so yeah, so just wanted to make you aware of the 750 properties on the existing and just what I had read on the new. And if the health department needs any of that information, we can obviously provide
Okay.
that to them.
Okay, thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
No
Thank you.
problem.
Thank you for reviewing that.
Denise, do you have anything? Brad?
Nothing except to say thank you.
You're very welcome. Shannon, anything more? Okay, Steve, you're up.
Yeah, I actually do. I made sure it was in the packet. We have a request. There's a trolley grant that Main Street Medina is asking for. We've had some conversations with them regarding how the county could assist them, involve Shannon and obviously Matt and Holly as to what that cooperation would involve, what level. Matt and Shannon, you can weigh in. But they're looking for a letter of support. This would be basically an expansion of, or provide some support for them acquiring a trolley that would be used during special events, such as they, as you know, frequently do here in here. Potentially, it could even be utilized by other Main Street programs or other community events.
It's a
if we do it.
It's a beautiful, beautiful.
But they're looking for letter of support, and likewise, we are working as to how we can assist them, such areas as, like we did with Faith in Action decades ago or some time ago, where the county was able to take possession of it, have it covered under insurance, be able to be reimbursed for the sale, for gas and fuel at a lower cost. Obviously, insurance would be very minimal. Likewise, we've identified an area where basically the engineering center, I believe, would have sufficient space to be able to, that would be stored within the area. So we could help assist them in making this project work, as well as some other issues to work out. But they're looking for a letter of support from us, see if you'd be willing to entertain. What that all involves beyond just that discussion would have to be, further determined by the board and obviously in the negotiation with them.
No, I'd be all in.
I think it's a
for
great
letter.
idea.
All right, super. All right, put something together and let them know.
Anything
Shannon, any comments or Matt on this one? Okay, cool.
I think it's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
nice to be able to cover these kind of, help the community cover these kind of special events.
Right.
Well, and I'm sure you've noticed on the last couple that we've done, Brian just does an exceptional letters on these grant
Oh, yes, he does.
requests.
Yeah.
He really
Yeah, I know.
goes above and beyond, so
Yeah.
we will get him on that.
Well, when you look at the tens of thousands of people that come here to special events, it'd be nice to be able to have some way, be able to assist people with their parking, especially depending on how the weather goes. Sometimes it's a little bit rainy or not, but just the people with disabilities are not able to walk long distances. We do have some local parking here, but it'd be nice to be able to help. Actually, those crowds could be parked elsewhere, and that would actually increase the impact of these events to the other businesses beyond just the square.
Yes.
Basically within the downtown area.
Yes.
So
The
Southtown,
Gilmore
as
girls
they
are
call
coming
it.
again. I mean,
That's great.
lots of people coming.
Yeah, I know. So, okay, but thank you. All right.
Okay, Aaron, did
I
you
don't
have
think they had a
anything?
trolley in Gilmore Girls.
I know.
Well, I have some thoughts on Budget Commissioner. We're going to have a conversation about that.
Yep,
I don't know if
go
you have
for
anything
it. Go for it, yes.
To say or to kick that off, but obviously that process is kind of wrapped up for the time being. I guess the process is wrapped up. Your first meeting, I think, we appointed you last week. So
Last
your first
Tuesday,
meeting was
yes.
Wednesday, the
Yes.
25th, which it seems like it's been a whirlwind since
Mm-hmm.
then. But ironically, the same day that we appointed you was March 24th. And I know Steve and I were both at the economic development meeting. At that meeting, the entire room cheered very loudly at the pronouncement that Medina County schools are the best in the state. That provided kind of an ironic backdrop, I think, for what happened the rest of the week. Yesterday's decision, to my knowledge, was really the only option that the Budget Commission had due to the failure to provide districts with an official certificate of estimated resources by the March 1 deadline. So following yesterday's meeting, I read a press release from the auditor's office calling on public schools to consider a voluntary rollback of taxes in spite of the Budget Commission's submission of their budgets as presented. And I would say on that sentiment, I agree with the auditor. Where our school districts can cut, I think that they should. But that's pretty much where our agreement ends. Where I take more issue is when the auditor in that same press release turned his attention to this office, implying that had we approved a dedicated Budget Commission staff member in connection with his 2026 budget request, all would be well. And I'm just not confident that's the case. The reality is that this request was among others that were made by the auditor this past year that were denied because, in spite of the rhetoric coming from that office, the auditor's budget has exploded since Auditor Capretta took office. When comparing its 2025 expenditures from general fund and real estate appraisal funds to 2022 expenditures, which was the final year of his predecessor, expenses have increased a staggering 80%. John, not your turn to talk.
Okay, I was just going to say.
John, you're in a public meeting right now. You have not been invited to speak.
Okay.
I know that's frustrating when you're in a public meeting and it's not your turn to talk, but you're listening.
That's fine.
2022 expenses from those two funds was $1,887,335. 2025 expenses from actual expenditures from those funds was $3,409,827. That's a difference of $1,522,492. So that's 80.7% by my math. This explosion of expenses needs to be reined in by the auditor himself before he admonishes other taxing authorities for their spending. I'm committed to tax relief, and to accomplish this, we need to root out waste, abuse, and excess wherever it is found. And it's important that we consider the will of the taxpayers when we do that. The Budget Commission fiasco was a failure in many ways, not the least of which was the attempts to exclude the public from the process. In spite of this approval, I believe the Budget Commission should continue to meet and develop a roadmap that ensures transparency and clear expectations for future cycles. I would hope that the auditor could find room within the confines of his existing almost $3.5 million budget to do this without demanding additional resources from the commissioners.
Steve, did you have any comment?
Yeah, quite a bit, actually. Well, I'll just say, I'd like to say a lot more, but I will just say that been brought to my attention, there's a number of violations of the Public Records Act, public meeting, that the minutes of the board meetings, which are required under the Ohio Vice Code as well as Administrative Code, require minutes, audio recordings of meetings that have the only things that have been provided is meant to be transitory documents, not permanent documents. You've been violating the law, you've been allowed to violate the law, and I think that should stop. Now, the Board of County Commissioners, go ahead and write it for your press release, John. I'm sure you'll do another one this afternoon defending their practices. Well, we received some kind of correspondence from the county prosecutor last week that we were able to share that says because you're quasi-judiciary, which I think is it just obscures the fact that you have outside I'll just say the norms and best practices of public meetings and public acts. I think it's shameful that the Budget Commission prevented the public from being able to speak in 2 occasions. They had the ability to be able to talk. They should have been given that ability to talk, and there was a mechanism to do it. Regardless, although your legal counsel suggested that there was maybe some legal reasons that you couldn't, but we know actually you could. Parliamentary procedure or Robert's Rules of Order allow agendas to be changed with the concurrence of the majority of the board. And that could have done, and it's shameful that the public was not allowed to speak on both of those occasions. They were there out of interest and concerns for the actions, whether they were for or against the rollbacks of the schools. They should have been allowed to speak. And I'm just outraged by the conduct of the Budget Commission in that regard. I think that obviously now that since county commissioners are a substitute, a member of our board is a substitute for the county prosecutor, that these actions need to be reconsidered, and indeed you need to develop standards of practice that involve the conduct of meetings that really adheres to the spirit of the law as well as the letter of the law when it comes to public records and public meetings.
I do think it was a very difficult week, and I do think the school systems were under a lot of stress and concern going forward with their budgets and meeting their April 1st deadlines. And I do think last night's press release was very poorly timed, considering we had settled the matter before 5 o'clock yesterday, and giving the school system some sense of going forward their boards for this year. So I do think the Budget Commission needs to continue to meet. I think we need to do a better job setting up guidelines and procedures going forward. But yes, last night's press release was poorly timed.
Could I make a motion? I do want to make sure that get on the record and obviously reference that the county commissioners did take action in a piggyback homestead exemption to the tune of, do you remember how many $1 million that was, the reduction? $4.5 million
Very
already.
targeted, very targeted.
And contrary to some of the posts of the, I'll just say some of the more political people, that we're just not, we're just talking, we actually did it. And we were actually able to do it in a way that was targeted and help those with, that are disabled, seniors that are I'll just say, poor and low income. And likewise, we did the best we could. More needs to be done, but I think that's in the hands of the General Assembly and other entities that have the ability to do that. And I want to applaud Cloverleaf for what they did, as well as they, of course, recognized what we ended up doing as a Board of Commissioners. And it's unfortunate that when you go to a county website, the auditors, the tax record and so forth, and somebody that gets a homestead exemption, they don't see a recognition of that reduction when you go parcel by parcel.
Okay.
I guess the only other thing I'll say is I still focus on the spending and the expenses, and I believe even in this week's approvals, we're approving expenditures coming from that office that we have specifically notified that office were not part of this year's budget. And so those expenditures for contracted services that we said these need to stop, one of which is a photographer and one of which is an attorney,
They're continuing.
they have continued, right? I believe those included up to this week's approvals.
Yeah.
This week's approvals. So, yeah, so these kinds of things and trends, while grandstanding on the other side about what other taxing authorities need to do, I think we all have an obligation to do this. I think the commissioners have an obligation, have a role to play in this, but certainly so do the other elected officials. And before we start throwing stones from our glass house, I think we all need to rein in our own spending. And frankly, complaining about not having one more person in that department, I find it hard to believe that would have been the magic elixir that would have made the process of the Budget Commission compliant when you consider all of the shortfalls that Steve just identified. So.
I just want to question that it had to do with transfers that we've seen going on at the auditor's office. Britt, did you get a response regarding the letter that you sent last week on that transfers?
No,
That were not in accordance with our standard practices?
no. Not just not in accordance with standard practices, but in violation of ORC.
Considering what Aaron brought up about bills on the current bill page, Brett, I do think a secondary letter does need to go out explaining which things were not funded this year in the budget because bills continue to come through, so.
I will be happy to do so.
I think also a reminder that they ought to respond to your, I think, well-researched request for compliance with Ohio Vice Code when it comes to those transfers.
I'll be happy to do so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anything else, gentlemen?
We have, Denise is here. Tomorrow we start the process with the consultant on the, do you want to share any kind of kickoff thoughts on that?
Sure. So, I'm sorry, I didn't have any notes. I was just here in case you needed me. So, yes, we are meeting with the subdivision regulations and proposed development agreement work group tomorrow to begin with American Structure Point to begin those or to provide an update from the 5 stakeholder groups that we met with a couple weeks ago, including developers, real estate, township, and county staff. So we'll be meeting with them in the afternoon, followed by a presentation to the Planning Commission in the evening.
Excellent.
Is that what you were looking for?
It is.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to
Excellent
it.
work.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, I will entertain a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
Roll.
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes. Thank you, everyone.